Hello, this is Gerald van Was. Let's talk about Pythagoras and letters. We know that Pythagoras is known for some mathematical formula that is quite known in the schools and so on. You learn it quite hard. What is not so very known is that there was also a school, a Pythagorean school. There's not much kept from ideas that came from there. They were more like hearsays from other philosophers and so on that has some fragments of what it is about. It was a school that was busy with much more than, of course, mathematical theories. It wasn't about that at all. There is also an association that we have a Pythagorean order of letters. This order are references to the letters into a numerical order, which I refined a little bit because I investigate how does it work for this letter and this letter, and I came to a little bit more refinement with that. But the more you're busy with it, you also see that it works in a certain way, and why it works in a certain way, why these numbers can be important. But much more than the numbers, it's the order behind these numbers which is even more important. The order forms itself. It means that if there is that it goes automatically from 1 to 2 to what is written about the number 2 and to what is written about the number 2. The logic really goes from that level to level quite easily. And that's how our mind also follows certain prepositions, positions, and it sees that when something is not fit, it goes to the next position. A little bit like that. I will explain that better soon, but first I will talk about Pythagoras itself because it's interesting. From what we know from letters, how we can also understand Pythagoras' theories better. And what can you read from Pythagoras? You can find a couple of ideas even on Wikipedia, and I translated very quickly what I found there on Wikipedia on the Dutch page, and it says that the Pythagorean view seems to begin with Anaximander's views on the first primordial substance of things like the apeiron, or the indefinite, or the indeterminate, and he holds that the indefinite or unbounded takes shape or finds a form through limitation. When you read at first, it might be just something very abstract, but if you think about it, that when you followed also some of my videos, and for instance with the last one about the hand and or main, it also said that okay, we have a few things that we don't see at the edges, we don't see these things, but in between we have an area that we can understand, and based upon the limits of what we can see, we can make up a context. That was basically said there. And in fact, it is the same principle. It is there is something indefinite, but you can find a shape, you can find something definite via the limitations. They go through the points where you can see something. So what you cannot see will seek also an order from where it can see something, and that is a finding of an order, let's say. So when the one was constructed, either from planes or from surfaces or from seats or from elements which they cannot describe, immediately the nearest part of the infinite was drawn nearer and bounded by the limit. It's also about the same kind of things. A bit further, emptiness distinguishes the nature of things, since that is which separates and distinguishes the successive terms in a series. This occurs first of all for numbers, since emptiness distinguishes their nature. Also here it could still be a bit fake, but you know, of course, you have a number in between. It's not that, it's not that, it's not that. Yes, I have it, this will be it. That kind of principle is already there. So it is the in between what the things that are not, you have the things that are in tune. And it is that tuning in that finds the next tune, the next note, the next number. That kind of principle will be understood and will be expressed a little bit further. I will explain it a little bit further as well. So instead of an undifferentiated whole, we have a living whole of interconnected parts separated by a void. This inhalation of the apeiron is what makes the word mathematical, since it shows that numbers in reality are composed of the same principle. Both the continuum of numbers, which consist of a series of successive terms separated by emptiness as the domain of reality, the cosmos, being the interplay of form and emptiness, apeiron and peiron. What essentially distinguishes this theory from Anaximander's original theory is that this interplay of apeiron and peiron must occur in a harmonious way, which means the order driven by the not knowing. And here I am talking about when we seek also for an orientation in space and time, it works the same way. We try to find an order, so we're driven also at a point from, oh shit, here I don't know where where it is, and it goes to slowly tuning in, and this will tune in to a harmonious, spontaneous, harmonious interplay between what it recognizes, what it does not know, and hanging on what it can find. In the terms of Philolaus, the combination of limiting principles and unlimited givens concerns combinations in accordance with ratios of numbers. This, according to him, constitutes harmonia or harmony. In a similar way, the cosmos and the concrete things in the cosmos did not come about from a chance combination or limiting principles and unlimited givens, but the limiting principles and unlimiteds must necessarily be brought together in a harmonious way in order for an order to come about. And now I will explain it that this principle dominates actually in trying to find out a place for naming also letters. The letters are chosen because they harmonize with the points that are related with what I want to find. And when they do, I also harmonize with that direction. Basically, we have here this scheme, which is also quite interesting and important for Pythagoras. Here we have the numbers, which together form the number 10. In a way, this is the principle underlying is this principle of the yeses and nos, of the finding and not knowing. I don't say knowing, the finding and not knowing, and the orders of how we try to find an order. This is the 10 dimensions of order are in here, and we try to distinguish it in general within the order of 3. The order of 3 is a principle of our ability of trying to recognize places or forms. We can only recognize them via 3 dimensions. We only need 3 dimensions or 3 points or 3. Everything with 3 is easy to recognize. You have 3 differences, then you have maximum of 3 differences. With 4, it's already confusing. You no longer know in which direction it goes. Or we bring in when we see the number 4, we bring in an extra order that we say, okay, we have 3 plus 1 extra direction in a different direction, or that kind of thing. Our mind works like that. It works in order of 3. So while the background has 10 dimensions, the general structure of 10 dimensions, which are not necessarily 10 dimensions in the big sense of 3 plus 4 up and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth until 10 dimensions. No, it is, we need 10 points in dimensions. I will explain that later. And the individualized order of 3, also in 3 dimensions. So what we basically do with letters, we try to find a place, we try to find something to recognize in space. Of course, mostly we try to find a point as simple as possible that we recognize and that we can work with. We check it out. So that's here in the number 1. We try to figure it out in space. And there we I will go into detail there later. Until it's no longer a steady point in space, or it is no longer definable as, okay, its point is there. No, it's also there. Oh no, what do I? That's confusing. So there will be a point where a point in space is not so stable, or it's not there at that moment that we do not know where it is. And then we have to find it out, and mostly it means, okay, it's there a bit further, a bit later. It is a comparison between 2 points. That is the recognition of something that you can figure out by 2 points, a beginning and an end, of a before and after, everything in time. When that also does not work, again, the not knowing dominates. And it will dominate more and more and more, because you can't really pinpoint it so exactly. It's always an estimation, a checking out, and this checking out goes further. It stimulates yourself for the harmonies also to increase. So the not knowing will increase at that point where you say, I don't know where it starts from, or I don't know where it's going. And when I don't know both of them, where it starts from and where it's going, you need context. So at the left and the right you have 2 unknowns at that point, not just in the middle like before. You have 2 unknowns, and then you have to try to figure out, okay, here is a certain order. That's what the mind does when trying to find out a point. And each of these positions that you have there are letters. For instance, in the first series of elements and points in space, we have a horizontal, a vertical, a diagonal in 3 positions with 1 center, 2 centers or 3 centers, and also in 3 positions, of course, the middle, the volume or the edges. And with that you have actually 9 positions that of points. These are all estimations, because at the point, already from the beginning with ATK, where you try to figure out where you are in space and where is that point in space, there will also be a point that I have to adapt a little bit, because it's not exactly there. And so the next letter after AT and K is already influenced by not in K. I see that something is not, and I have to adapt a little bit. So where is what is the thing that I can follow, because there's something I can't follow at that point. In Ka, which is question in Japanese, is basically losing your reference point exactly in space, and you have to see, okay, where do I have to adapt to make that work? That not thing is very important. And that makes you go further and further. And it is trying to figure out. So it is the doubts and the not knowings are, I will emphasize in this video, is much more important than the knowings. I'll repeat that a couple of times. So in the beginning, what will you do when you first try to pinpoint something that you have to want to work with? You try to find the place where it is in A. When you found, so what you think, okay, I have the middle of it, you make a placement, and you have the T on the vertical. And when you see, oh, it is not exactly what it is, because it moves further, there is a certain displacement, you have the letter K. These are the 3 first letters in the system. And at the point of T, you say, okay, I know the thing. So, and this is all started from focusing upon an object very closely into one point. It starts from a single impulse, and all these letters are about single impulse. But here, okay, you see already, you see a displacement. What can you do with it? It is the first time you experience not. And actually, this not and this not so perfect is already from the beginning, but you're not focused upon it when you're using you think you know it all, and you go continue and continue. But it's an estimation. You use what you know, you go further with what you know, and you build up everything what you know with what you know. So it doesn't grow. It's simply a confirmation of oneself. And it doesn't grow at all. And it goes to the thing, and it finds the thing, but at some point, with this displacement, it should be clear immediately that something is not so perfectly right. And what annoyed me is the last couple of years, since the Corona time, something happened in humanity from an influence from outside, that people were conditioned to follow the official knowledge, the official yes, and the other things were the known. A lot of people were confused and also said, there's something wrong, so I go for the no, and they could land even in things that were completely off the charts, flat earths, Afrocentrism, all stimulated by the same movements to get your attention away from realizing and having the sense of the sense for yourself. Where is something not right? We have a balance. We have an organ of balance in ourselves that sees like, here's something is not right. And you can do two things. You follow the conditioned mindset, which was conditioned globally to say this is the right thing and this is the wrong thing. It's not that you have to go to the wrong people or to the right people. You don't have to belong to any of these groups. But this balance has two possibilities. You go from this disbalance and you try to find the real knowledge, and then you go for it, or this disbalance itself is a stimulation to go to what you do not know. We always are emphasized on knowledge. So everything you learn is about knowledge. It annoys me with psychology that you have there a lot of knowledge. Freud, for instance, had a lot of interesting theories that he discovered something with a person, and that was perfect in its own sense. And he was a bit lucky that there was a pattern there that was somewhat ready for the times, but it's just one of the 1,000 millions of patterns that could be there. It's not it should not be a theory of a knowledge. The recognizing something, the intelligence to recognize something, uses the things that are there at that moment, which are always different at each time. When I show you videos, it's always different each time, although there's an in-between balance there, and that's what it is about. It is this balance. Try to learn this balance. There will always be things that you do not know. Knowledge is not about knowing. Knowledge is about intelligence. This, what I'm talking about, is not about knowledge. It's about an intelligence that you have to tune in. Just like we do that with letters. We tune in and we see, where is that balance? You have to learn to tune it in. It's better to explain it each time completely different. And by knowing what you do not know, at that point where the disbalance is, you have to achieve an attention to not to what it is, but to realize what you're missing. When you're missing, the more you know that you're missing something, You will be slowly tuning in. What you do with the next letter after A, T, and K, that's the letter U. You still follow what you know, you follow it, but you know that you are limited, that this is only a part of the reality. The U, which is, if you see, it moves, this wave, this single wave moves a little bit. It goes to see, okay, what do I have in my material? What is happening here actually? But I follow only just a half part of it. I just follow what I know. And it is smaller. It is only half of reality. And that's the only thing we know. It's only half of reality. And by doing that, you come to the next point automatically. Knowing that you know only the half and realizing it. I go back to this period in which we are, this post-corona period, which learned the people to think of that we need to follow the knowings is, sorry to say, is absolutely wrong to think like that. We have to realize, we have to learn to realize what kind of part do we do not know, and then try to tune in, try to see, okay, where does it lead to, what is missing. You have to take a time for it, you have to take attention for it. With the you know already, okay, I'm just following the leads of what I know already, but I know it's limited, so I have to fill it in more or less. And that has to be filled in after a while. And the not knowing in that way is much more important than the knowing. When you already tried to find a place, your place, the placement, it is actually something that you do not know yet. You find a thing, but immediately when you think you found the thing, you think it was there, but it's at some other point it's not there anymore. So it's moved. Okay, so I have to adapt it a bit better. Then you learn, then you grow. The attention of the first intention of A was not that one of following knowledge, of I know, it's the one of estimation. And it shows the harmony of that one of the Pythagoras of order by realizing how limited it was, that it only saw, it didn't tune in so perfectly, it tuned in only partially. And by knowing this, the natural logic will follow towards its next realization automatically. And that we will do there. So what will be the next order when we do that? And that's the order of the letters. It's the order of how we learn and think, and even the spiritual order of it, and so on. When it was displaced, so when we follow the partial place what we know, one can also try to see and learn to see what we do with what we do not know. With the L of love as well, it's we lost our place, we don't know if we have and we try to fill it in again. It's because after the realization that we do not know what it is. So we thought we had the thing, but we don't know its place, we don't know what it is, and also we don't know where it will go to. And with the understanding of the displacement, we follow the displacement, and we will follow it a little bit to where it goes. With the L, we follow it how it grows. With the U, we follow it to what, to where it goes, to what it is, but also to how it fills its in its regular course. So while we started to think that we were following the known in A, it is even better that we realize more and more, okay, there's a part that we do not know, let's give it attention, and so that we can finalize it, that we can finalize what it means. A conversation should be like that. I'm so tired of the post-corona conversations that once you say something which is opposite the narrative, even if I'm not idiotic in what I say, immediately say, "Oh, it's not like what do you mean?" or and what exactly do you mean? Or there's no curiosity, there's no growth, there's nothing. It's fixed. Everything is fixed, and you're either with the good persons or with the bad person. I'm with the bad person. Sorry for that. So once you know that there is something that you're missing, you start to follow the where it is. So it's if it's not there now, it might be somewhere else at some other time, and you start to follow the time frames already from the start before you know it. ATK is the only thing which is 100% in space. The other one, you see, they gradually evolve to something that actually needs a movement in time. So you know only this full thing in space when you also know where it's going in time. And that's that gradual thing. There's a lot more to say about it, but it's just a general introduction of the first couple of letters. And what's then the last thing? So when you realize that you do not know where it is going, then you try to estimate at least its destiny, where it is going. When you do not know how far it will reach, you could at least try to follow where it is growing or how much it is growing. And when you totally do not know its destiny or growth at the end, so that's the last part, it's growing to somewhere where you don't even see it in space anymore. Yeah, it's the most unknown from space itself in the spatial area. The letter X is, it's no longer at your place, it's somewhere else. You know that the X lives at some other place. So basically, you have a vibration, let's say, of one focus. So you follow, just one impulse, one direct pulse in ATK. Try to have a steady focus. Try to estimate it at the placement. Try to recognize its place in space, but gradually, actually, you don't do that very well. So you go to look into time frames, how it behaves, so that you can estimate it better. So then you have this double focus, so you follow it longer than just one impulse. You follow two impulses, you follow the wave, let's say, and you realize how it is evolving and so on. So you know its place in time and how it is changing. Or gradually also that you don't know that even very well. And when the cause and effect are no longer visible, of course, you have three waves in a rhythm, and you still try to find a pattern. So these three waves are the contextual letters. I'm not going to talk too much into detail now, but you have already an introduction, and I think you know what I mean. Only the last letters that I don't explain very often are quite interesting. The H and the H are a bit out of that system. Like you have a logic in a structure of 10. And this is also a bit outside that logic. And the H is that laughter of something that starts outside the logic but completely fits. That's quite funny actually. But if the complete pulse is outside the system, it's that idea of I don't know it, or it doesn't fit, or you have to think differently to know how it fits. That's that kind of association with these sounds. And basically what Pythagoras is about, he was actually busy with not just with mathematics, he was busy with cosmology and with music also, and with the strings. And the strings of the harmonies is not so much different from the tuning into the letters. The letters, they follow a certain order and mixture of order, and they have a position in time and space that makes it easy and easy to remember, to follow, and so on. They fit. We don't realize its full system. I talked about this system much more, but it is about tuning in, and when you have these correct tunes, then you also can work with it a little bit better. So it is, there is more behind the letters than meets the eye. So again, much more than realization and knowing, or than having knowledge about this. This is also not about knowledge. The right question that you have by knowing from what do I do not, what do I not have, of what do I know, what can I follow already, is much more important, because that makes it a question, and this question is again tuning in to answers. The answers will tune in to what is available. And it is like this is a basic structure behind it. The higher 10 structure, let's say, that decides that you go from 1 to 0, that decides that you go from 1 to 9. What exactly you recognize that you do not know searches for the harmonization towards what the knowing part, only to further fulfill that realization of found knowns and found tunings in a series that will work itself out further, of a fulfillment from zero, or the not knowing, towards 1, or the recognizing where it is, what you can see, and this in a series from 1 to 9. The principles that live behind the letters are in general also principles of attention to what someone is saying, attention to what is being said, to attention to what kind of words are used. All these kind of things have the same kind of attention that you can adapt to, or adapt to better. So forgetting the not is quite severe in understanding each other and learning and growing and so on, and it misses the point actually from how it is built up. When you do not find the things in space immediately, of course there will be some other time then, of course, and that's the next order. And then you follow that order, that you can see, okay, it's not now here, but maybe later. Let's see where it is later. But if it's also not visible where it is later or in the past, what can you do? You have another not. It's not now and it's not later. Can you do something with it? There are also letters with it, so there's a part that is not there. So when it's not there yet, when it's not there in the future, or going towards something in the future, from the past to the future, you do not know where it is, and you do not know from where it comes, and you don't know where it goes. That's quite severe to make it a realization of a point from where and what is it. But it has some potency, of course, because it's not so bad to say like, no, I do not know. I do not know where it is now. I do not know where it is going. At least I know there is a potency that it could do that. And I had that. That's why I was so keen of that people would look at the explanation of the word hand, because there was a principle in there that was quite important, and I couldn't go further and explain something else without that this realization was at least seen. The hand is doing that as well. We have the hands. The principle of the hand is actually they are right or left in your at your body. You don't see them. It doesn't matter that you don't see them. They are there, and you know it. You know it, and you can use it. You can use it in a general sense, in a contextual sense, and that's what it is. That's why hand starts with the H of the spatial reference in which you can use it. That's that frame where you can use it. You can use it into a general rule. That's where the hand is. It's not there anymore, but you can use it at some point. It doesn't mean that from there to there. At some point it's not fixed. It's general. So what did we talk about today? Pythagoras, how the order of letters is using an element of recognition, but also needs the realization where it misses a point, so that we also are attentive to adapt further. And that's basically a principle which is embedded into these letters. At the same time, the elements that fill in are the whole series of letters are about letters that misses something or that fill in each other. It's the same principle. This kind of principle is quite important to realize, and that makes us also better listeners and better learners, and people who use that kind of attention of intelligence towards it also better once we realize that. And I hope that can happen when this realization is getting stronger. Okay, thanks again for listening. Bye.